welcome everybody to our second edition of Beyond the Hill, where we introduce guests who you have heard from on Take the Hill, but we bring them back for an unscripted conversation. And that's what we do. So I'm excited to have Kiesha Lalama back. Kiesha, how are you doing?
I'm great. Hi, thanks for having me.
It's
Thank you.
wonderful. Thank you. It's great to see you, my friend. So,
Great
and
to
if
see
you haven't checked out Keisha's episodes, go back to number 20 on Take the Hill, where she talked about purpose, vision, and passion. And we'll also talk about your podcast today, because I hear you're doing a thing.
I'm doing a thing thanks to you, my guiding light through the
Well,
entire thing. Yeah, we're
well,
doing
we
it.
tried. We tried. But yeah, so Keisha, Pathways to Perform, right?
Yeah, that's it.
So
So
it's
we
out
launched,
there.
it's out there. I can't believe it. So we launched
Okay.
the new podcast, Pathways to Perform. And honestly, and seriously, I can't thank you enough, Patrick, for helping me every step of the way. You were truly a guide and tremendous support for me, from just the architecture of it. What is it? What is the message, to all the technical things, from the microphone to the, I had no idea what I was doing. So I am forever grateful for you, sir. Thank you for your friendship and for your support.
Well, it's our pleasure. So, and we're awesome to seeing your episodes come out, and each of the new episodes. I mean, you're just killing it. So, but what I want to know
Yeah.
is, tell me what you're learning. I mean, you have such amazing guests, right? And what are you learning?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting because I had set out to really work towards inspiring young adults. I want to get the message out there to all of our dream chasers that you can do it. And the path might not be clear. It's never what anyone thinks it is, right? From A to B. If you've ever seen that visual, it's usually like this.
Yes.
And, the original intention of wanting to inspire young adults is certainly coming to fruition, which is great. But I've learned so much along the way. I mean, for me, Keisha, personally, the technology has been amazing. I feel like I'm back in some kind of master's grad program and just launching things through Buzzsprout, and how do you get a website and all of those, and setting things up. And of course, my sons helped me with most of that. It was more like, move, we'll take care of it, which was great. So setting up the studio in the basement, I had some help there with my sons. But I think it's so many things. It's something as simple as writing an intro for a guest and doing research, and then discovering something about the guest that I might have not known. So doing some research and really investigating and asking the right questions before we even get to the interview, that has been really, really fun for me, because I love people. And so I love learning about people. And so that has been great. And then I think just there's always one surprise in every interview, something I didn't know. That to me is great. And I learned something. So that surprise is whether I've learned something specifically about that person's journey, about their career, or maybe a failure that they learned from, or it's something that I just didn't know about at all. And then it sparks that intellectual curiosity that I love. And then I want to dig further and continue to learn about that subject. So it's been so rewarding for me, when I thought I was doing this for all these other young aspiring hopefuls. So it's been kind of twofold, which is great.
Yeah, and I think you could definitely see that. Like you said, I mean, you've had some astonishing guests already. And it's interesting because you can see how that comes to fruition during the course of your discussion. Because most of the time you see those individuals, like you said, on stage or in a particular role. And that's how we define them. But within your interviews, like I said, it's a completely different environment. And you get to see, like you said, the stories of their journey. Because you're right, they're never they're never very linear, right? They're, as you said, and without those bumps in the road, or those, I guess, trips between all those other points, uh, I don't think most of us would become who we are if we didn't have those experiences along the way.
Yeah, and I think it's important, right? I think it's important to feel and experience the highest of highs and lowest of lows.
Yeah.
You learn something from all of those, and that's what keeps us charged as human beings to keep going. And I find that the journey is so important to tell those stories because, usually we just hear about the bio or like you said, the title, someone's role that they play, or they're, senior executive of this, right? But we don't really ever talk about the failures. The book of no is what I call it. And for every, amazing accomplishment, you have 4,000 rejections that no one ever talks about, and it's the lows and the peaks and valleys. You hear of these things, but they're not really thoroughly discussed or investigated. So I've had a great time talking about that as well, because that's honest.
Can I put you on the record that your publication date on the Book of No is within the next 10 years?
So funny. So I think if I say this out loud, Patrick. So I'm working on a book, and
No
it's
way.
titled it's titled For Any Young Aspiring Anything.
I like
And
it.
one chapter is the Book of No, which I think will become a much larger entity. The more I talk about it, the more people are really interested in learning more about that. So I just said it out loud. I'm holding myself to it. I'm actually going to be working on it a lot this weekend. But yeah, for any young aspiring anything. All right.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what, I'll post date this episode by a week. That's about all I can afford you.
I love it. Okay.
How's that?
Well, it'll light
So
a fire. Now just keep going.
there we go. So I have to ask, and I don't know if we asked you this question when you were on our podcast originally, but where does your courage emerge from? Because it seems to me that you seem to be an individual, and you're surrounded by individuals that said, okay, here's my vision. And there's no hesitancy. It's just go. Good or bad, we're just going, right?
It's go
And
time. Yeah.
it was like your podcast. It's like, Patrick, I'm going to do this. And I remember I distinctly say, okay, well, you got to think about these things. And then literally 2 minutes later, it was like, okay, I need to know equipment. I need to know, I'm working on my basement right now. I'm like, you're going.
I mean, I have two big fears in my life. I would say that one is if the ideas stop coming, whether it's creative or new programming or just mindfulness, right? The ideas stop. That's a fear. And then, I mean, on a very personal level, if anything happens to my children, I mean, I would never bounce back from that. So, I think for me, it's in my DNA. This courage thing, these ideas, this I'm very bold, as
No
you
way.
know.
No.
A little bit. I love life. I really do. I feel that I appreciate so many of the little things as well as the larger picture of things. And I want to make a change. I want to make positive change, and I want to make a difference in this world. And so I want to leave it a better place. Why not do it? I feel that I don't want to live with regret. I don't want to think, oh, I have this great idea and then never follow through. And so yeah, I don't really know fear. Does that make
That's
sense?
good. It does. It does. And I think you have to, in a way, approach some of those big, bold ideas in that same frame of reference. Because if you don't, chances are you're never going to start.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a lot of preparation that goes into it.
Of
Don't get me
course.
wrong. There's a lot of thinking behind it. So I'm
Sure.
just not being careless.
Yes.
It is usually strategic, but I feel that if I don't try, the answer is going to be no immediately. So why not try? And if I fail, then I'll learn something from it. If the podcast fails and doesn't continue to grow, I have learned so much, and I have helped I've received responses from students and friends saying that it's a great show and keep going. But that is enough for me to keep going. And I think we live in that world now, and you certainly understand this instant gratification, but like an instant gratification that is really unattainable. Right. If I launch this podcast, I'm going to have 3 million viewers on YouTube and be YouTube famous, and that's not real.
Yeah.
So I never set myself up for failure too, or disappointment. I know the work ahead, and I love the process.
Yeah.
So I think that's part of my courage, is getting in there, learning something, and then trying. I think you have to try. I think it's
Yeah.
important to try.
Yeah. And it was so interesting because I think we spoke with a guest last week on Take the Hill, and it was interesting. And behind him on the shelf, Angelo recognized that little silver plaque that you get from YouTube. And I think it's like when you hit a certain crazy number of subscribers, right?
Oh,
And when we pointed it out, he goes, oh yeah, that thing, I got that. But it was more about what he was doing in terms of his mission, his purpose. And that just came along. And I think that's such a valuable lesson for anybody, that
mhm.
there's so much experience in the process and the journey, that if you're not paying attention to that, you're going to miss a lot of opportunity and experience
It's so
along the way,
true. And
you
I,
know?
I truly believe that if you're doing it for the right reasons, then I guess that word success will come, whether it's
Sure.
fulfillment for yourself or any kind of outside reward, but both the
Mhm.
external and internal success will come for you because you will actually become fulfilled.
Yeah.
And if it's the right reason, it's just if you're chasing something, that phantom idea of success, you're ultimately setting yourself up, I think, for just disappointment. It might not be a grand failure, but certainly just
Yeah.
disappointment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have to ask, what has surprised you so far? Or what's maybe caught you off guard?
I'm not really good with talking about myself,
Yeah.
right? So I'm comfortable with you, which is thank you. It just is, and I'm always surprised when people want to talk to me. But I think most surprising is that people are willing to share their stories. And that has been really fun because there's some people that have really shared some intimate details. When you ask someone, what is the greatest failure that you've experienced and what did you learn from that? Without hesitation, oh, they're willing to share that information to allow others to learn and grow from that. And so for me, I feel most surprised that they trust me to share some of those intimate experiences to allow others that opportunity to, like I said, to learn and grow. So that has been most surprising and honestly just I appreciate it. I feel humbled that they're willing to do that.
And are you starting to see kind of themes emerge, right? As you look into totality of your guest, and I know, like you said, you're just kind of getting started in a way, but I think you've reached a point, as you said, where you're getting comfortable with the process. But I would imagine or suspect that at the same time you're starting to see some patterns emerge.
Yeah, the patterns are really they're surfacing in a way that are very clear now, right?
Cool.
And that's what I thought maybe, you're boiling water and the water's simmering and then all these things are happening, but the actual bubbles of what the where the conversation goes tend to have similar thematic I, I don't want to say consequences, but yeah, I mean they kind of surface into this resolve, which I think is really interesting. And so, what I mean by that is I learned from this experience, and most people talk about the hard work and dedication. You have to put in the hard work. You have to dedicate yourselves to this. A lot of people talk about a similar theme is following your passion. This is what you're going to do with your life. So don't follow the backup plan first because you're fearful of chasing the dream. Have other things and other ideas, but I don't know anyone that is simply I am a professor of engineering and I have no other interest in my life. That doesn't really exist. You're a successful professor of engineering because you're interested in 9 million other things. And I feel like that has been a common thread. And it's usually a coming to. So that's what I meant by resolve. They talk through their journey and then come to that resolve. And that has usually been, again, that surprise of the intimate conversation and the reveal, but then watching them realize and come to that their own revelation and understanding and self-discovery has been quite beautiful.
So what's really interesting about that, and please disagree if you don't think this is the case, but your guests have come kind of from a different group of industries, but then they're also at different ages and different generational cohorts. But I'm getting almost that exact same message, regardless of who you are, where you're at, and what stage of your life, your career that you're in. That's what really is fascinating to me.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. So there's no disagreeing coming from this
Yeah.
side. But it's true. I mean, you and I are in completely different fields, but I feel as if people that are really chasing their passion have similar philosophies. And when that happens, I feel like you share these similar processes. And again, circling back to do your homework. Don't ever walk into a room and not know who's in the room or what to expect. Do your homework, investigate the situation. You don't want to walk into a law office and try to get hired and not even know who the partners are or what their successful cases have been, right? I mean, you want to do your homework in every single field. So do your homework, research, follow your passion. Hard work, it keeps coming up because I don't know that people are willing to put in the time, both in themselves, in the organization, in the bigger picture. It really takes time. That word has surfaced a lot, and I'm sure you've heard that. But the value of time is the most valuable thing, I think, in the world. And so listening to people appreciate time, use time, don't throw time away, don't waste time. It's interesting that that has also surfaced in many of the conversations. And then of course, the pathway, right? So people are talking to me, and as they're talking to me, they go, "Oh, just like this podcast, there is no path that's clear. It's always like this and all over the place." And so that is fun because then we all laugh, and yes, that's what the show's about. So it's fun.
No, and it's fascinating. And that's what I love to see, as you said, like the bubbles kind of coming to the surface,
Yeah.
because that gives you the perspective and those become visible. But I think it's not until you have the conversation or you start to see those patterns emerge. And this is what your podcast is doing. You know, it's illuminating the fact that yes, there are reoccurring themes. It doesn't matter what stage of your career, how old you are, these things will make you successful if you keep at it and keep trying, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what so what's next, right? So you said you're kind of getting into that comfortable spot, right? You're starting to figure it out. Where are we
Yes.
going?
Well, I branched out. I just interviewed Super Bowl champion Jordan Whitehead.
All right.
So that's awesome. And then I interviewed a football coach that
Okay.
is local football coach, WPIL champion for many years in a row, and
Okay.
just won the state championship.
Fantastic.
And in addition to that, he has sent several of his players on to the NFL. And so listening to these different perspectives, from the player perspective to the coach perspective, right? To
Yes.
a different field altogether. So you have someone just entering the field and someone who might be a senior executive. I'm also interviewing the president of the Pittsburgh Pirates. So
Nice.
Travis Williams is just so special and brilliant. And what he brings to sports, especially in the city of Pittsburgh, is such a gift. And his honest passion for this city really, I kind of I think elevates his skill set, right? He
Mhm.
cares. So
Absolutely.
I think listening to every single one of these different kind of people remind me of genuine passion. That is also this recurring theme. So I'm going down this road, and I'm asking even deeper questions now, not so much surface based. And
Yes.
then what I'm doing in a series called 5 on 5 and 5. So 5 speed round, 5 questions in 5 minutes. And there's one that kind of trips them up, which is really fun. So
Nice.
my son gave me that question. He's the smart one. So, but listening to the answers, it perspective is really what I'm seeing this time around, because you
Okay.
have, again, like a player perspective and then the coach perspective, who's responsible for all of these players and their lives,
Mhm.
so that the development, of their lives as human beings and adults, young adults. So that it's been really fun entering that a different layer of complexity and
Yes.
intimacy. So that's where I was just kind of getting my feet wet. Now I'm like, so tell me, tell me the truth. So
Oh,
that's kind of fun. Yeah,
you're
it's
like
been,
the investigative journalist Keisha coming out here.
yeah,
Like,
and
forget
it's
that
like
surface stuff.
yeah, doing the homework, and
Yeah.
really kind of looking into it and trying to find out what they want to talk about. What's
Mhm,
important to them currently might not have been something that was on their resume from 5 years ago
mhm.
or on their Wikipedia page. That might not be their current interests. So I think current interests is really that's something we've been talking about lately as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So who's the one big person that you would really love to have as an interview?
Oh, I think for me, just where I'm at right now, I would love to get Jerry Mitchell on the show.
Yeah.
He Broadway legend. I would probably, if I saw him on the screen, I would pass out. So, I mean, I think Jerry, he'd be fun, and he has just kind of paved the way for so many on Broadway from that
Yes,
perspective.
yes.
And as a choreographer, it's different for me, right?
Yeah.
So choreographer, director, just to have that kind of perspective, I think would be really interesting. Um, my goodness, I mean, you're cheesy, and could you imagine if Michelle Obama came on? I would
Yeah,
pass
yeah.
out. I wouldn't even be able to do the interview. I just think she's absolutely fascinating and
Mhm.
beautiful and awe-inspiring and all of those cliche words. But, I think right now, those are the larger picture things. I'm really interested in exploring our local heroes.
Yes.
I think that we celebrate celebrity and stardom a little bit too much.
Mhm.
I think that I recently watched that documentary. I think it's on Netflix, Fake Famous.
Mhm. Yep.
And we're not really celebrating the people doing the work on the front lines, maybe the manager of a local grocery store. What is that like? I mean, you're a
Mhm.
hero to me. Without you doing your job, we wouldn't do our daily shopping. We need food to survive. And so I'm really interested in, the Pittsburgh Community Food Bank and what they've been going through right now. I think that the local hero, I was watching a delivery guy the other morning. He's just up and down my street every day in his Prime, or Amazon
Big blue
truck.
bus. Yeah.
Yeah, those blue little trucks. And I'm watching him hustle.
Yeah.
I thought to myself, this guy is like killing himself so people can get the things they need. And it's those daily support systems and those local heroes that I'm interested in that as well.
And I agree 100% because there are so many fascinating stories. And as you said, they kind of just blend into the gray of our everyday march, right? And
Yeah.
we're missing, as you said, if you really stop and pay attention to some of those individuals and what they're doing and what they've done the last year and a half or so, that's amazing. It really is.
Well, and it's again, it circles back to you and I having that sincere appreciation for
Mhm.
life.
Yeah.
You're gonna look at the delivery guy and say, "Hey, how you doing? You okay? You
Yeah.
know, do you need
Yeah.
water? Do you need me to snack? Do you need a snack pack
Absolutely.
for the road?" And I feel that that is just a value and appreciation for life. Certainly after COVID, in the middle of COVID, just really looking around and paying attention to all the moving parts and what keeps humanity surviving and moving forward in the day to day,
Mhm.
because we often, we're taught to chase that dream, chase that thing, that one thing. But, there are so many success stories. It doesn't
Yeah.
have to be someone as big as Michelle Obama. It could be your local bakery. Those are
Yeah.
my heroes. I love baked goods. And
Well,
we have a local pizzeria, Yolanda's. I don't know what I would do without them. I mean, it's like my therapy pizza. And it's those kinds of things that I think we take for granted a little too much.
yeah.
And to hear those stories, I think would also be interesting. So I would love to do a series on that as well. Sorry, that was a
That's
long-winded version, but
No, I mean that's great. I mean that's and we think alike because again, like you said, even though you have those aspirational interviews and people you want to have on there, that like you said, it doesn't, as you said, it doesn't have to be a big celebrity. I said there's a lot of people that are doing some pretty amazing and heroic things
that's
around us all the time. So you ready for a difficult question?
yeah, please.
Absolutely. Right. So as we think about, obviously the last year has been really challenging, right?
Mhm.
But I want to know, what are you going to miss when things kind of change in the future?
I mean, what am I going to miss? You mean coming out of COVID?
Yeah.
I think for me, I try to make the best of every situation. Oh, you're gonna make me cry. Whew, Patrick. Ah,
It's my job, Keisha. I'm sorry.
you know me so well. You're like, I'm just gonna go after her heart. I've had the greatest gift in the world, again, the gift of time with my two boys. Ah, whew. So Jax came home from Bucknell, and I thought, wow, how are we going to do this? Right. So he was upstairs on the second floor in his bedroom doing homework. My other son, Jake, had the center floor with the dog. And then I got thrown into the basement. How did that happen? But throw mom in the basement. And then I kind of transformed this into my office and trying to balance adults, three adults with different paths and different responsibilities in their life. Jack's at school, Jake is a writer and training for the Olympics, and I with my jobs, trying to stay out of each other's way, respect each other's time, respect space in the house. But then you kind of pause, and gonna make me cry. I remember stressed out, moving everything. I was pouring a cup of coffee, and we have a discus pad in our backyard with a gigantic discus net where the boys train. And Jax was sitting out there and Jake was helping him, and they were coaching each other and working out together. And tears just started rolling down my face because I don't know how much longer I'm going to see that. They're 22 and 20. They're
Hmm.
growing up. They're going on their own paths. They're finding their way. And so in that moment, I remember saying, you're not going to be stressed. You're going to celebrate every moment you have with your boys. For anyone that knows me, these boys are uh, my life. I love them with everything I have. And so we made the best of it. We learned how to cook. We learned how to bake. Jack set up this whole thing, really helped push me towards doing this technically. And then he's a journalist. So he was helping me just kind of flesh out what it was. Jake's a creative writer, so he's helping me with storytelling. So I feel like the three of us together had we had the gift of time. And I will miss that. I will miss that. But I appreciate time. So I try to hold on to those kinds of things. But yeah,
Thank
yeah,
you for answering that.
yeah, sure. I had to think about that. I was like, you mean, yeah, okay. Of course. Oh my goodness. That's just real. I mean, that's human, right?
That's the experience, is it
That's
not?
my truth. Those kids are my life.
I love
Yes.
it. And
Mhm.
it's funny because and I asked that, and I actually haven't asked that yet, but I think I'm going to use it again because everybody's so focused on, and rightfully so, what am I going to do first? Travel, see people. But I don't think anybody really has taken or had the opportunity to reflect on what you gained maybe over the last year.
Yeah, I think that we're all thinking about when you said miss, I thought theaters being closed, seeing my friends, rehearsing in the studio, collaborating. And then I realized, wait a second, this is the reverse. It's a great question. And I think it also provides your guests the opportunity to reflect on something positive that might have come out of this. And so I've got to spend more time with my neighbors. The only thing that I wish I would have had is more time with my parents, but I can't, which many of us, that's one of the things
Mhm.
that we've lost, right? And just
Yeah.
being safe. It's odd because my parents live a half a mile away. So
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
family is certainly my anchor.
So what are you looking forward to?
Oh, I'm looking forward to finishing this book, Patrick.
Well, the clock started, by the way.
I
Just
know.
saying.
Oh, yeah, fault. No, I'm really looking forward to seeing things move forward, seeing people thrive again. I can kind of see it happening and it's inching forward. But for me, it's spring, so it's track season. I get to go see my boys
Yeah.
throw discus, throw that big heavy frisbee into the field, as they say. But looking forward to seeing them continue to grow, and then looking forward to new projects, right?
Yeah.
I think that it's going to be different. I think things are going to look different. I'm looking and seeking to find more projects that offer opportunities for diversity, equity, accessibility, and inclusion. I look forward to opening those doors and providing more opportunities and being more inclusive. I think that is exciting.
Hmm.
And so I like to build projects. If you ask me the one thing that I do, I think that it's creating and developing new projects, whether it's arts education or whether it's shows or whatever it is. But I look forward to seeing the change. I feel like there's a lot of quiet movement happening behind the scenes. And when things do open up and we all anticipate that they're going to look different, we keep saying getting back to normal, but the new normal, I look forward to seeing what everyone has been working on. I'm excited about that.
It's like a forthcoming showcase, I
Yeah,
think, in a way.
yeah, I agree. Yeah. I mean, I know you have something up your sleeve. There's no way that you've been sitting
Always.
still. I know. So what have you been up to? If I could ask you one
Oh my
question, what
goodness.
are you working on? I mean, this is an
Yeah.
extension of your already very successful podcast. And so you're branching out.
Yeah.
But I mean, you have a beautiful family. I know that you're anchored in your family as well, values, love, all of that support. But what are you working on too?
Yeah.
Flipping the table.
You're putting, yeah, you're pretty good at that somehow. Yeah, just a quick highlights. Yeah, this obviously emerged from Take the Hill, right? Because I wanted, eh, even though Take the Hill, like you said, is doing really well, and we're so blessed in that side of the world. I wanted something that was a little bit more unscripted, completely just sit down and we talk, right? Because again, that I felt that that element was missing. And so some other projects I'm working on. Yes, I do. I'm thinking a little bit more globally, right? Again, I've always thought that way, and I have a few things perhaps happening in Morocco, right? That might be coming to the surface soon. Same thing with Spain and Italy. Again, all with the idea of let's see if we can connect the human experience a little bit more globally, right? And I really want students at our university to come and be a part of that. Right? And the other little project I'm working on is, I love aviation and flying, so I'm trying to blend that in there as well. I'm really focused on veteran suicide, right? And if they don't have, what it really boils down to is, if we don't have their next mission, like their next project, like the next big thing that they're going to be working towards when they do leave the military, that's when things got to begin to spiral out of control. And I want to leverage my connections within the aviation industry and work as a flight instructor and actually teach veterans how to fly, almost as a way to kind of like kickstart some of their own ideas, because it's sort of that same thing where you have a mission and a task and it requires a lot of energy and focus. And like you said, it could be a big stepping stone. And I know that in and of itself is another big field that's going to be growing as well. But yeah, I mean, there's projects out the
Yeah,
wazoo. And then kids, you're right. I mean,
exactly.
having the opportunity this past year, right? We've been able to spend a significant amount of time building Legos and playing outside and
Mhm.
learning how to cook pizza together.
Mhm.
And
It's
even
all about
teaching.
the pizza.
It is. What I'm grounded in pizza, Keisha.
Exactly.
Right? So
Exactly.
so we're gonna have to have a big family pizza night together at some point.
Yes. Yes.
But yeah, it's been just like you said, I've never looked at this past year, even though there were significant challenges. There was just so much opportunity, like you said, with the time that we were given, I think.
Mhm.
So that's where
Well,
I've been.
well, and you are so rooted in helping. You want to provide avenues for
Mhm.
growth and expansion and support. It's who you are. From day one, from when I met you at Point Park, you can feel your energy, and your light source is just so, it's genuine, and
Well,
it's
thank
all rooted, and it's true. It's true. And that's our connection.
you.
It's
Mhm.
a very genuine connection, certainly,
Yes.
but that's great. I mean, I'm sure at some point you and I will be collaborating on something.
Oh, it's already there. Trust me. You
Right
just haven't
there,
you just
exactly.
haven't heard it yet. So I
Oh, I
needed
love
I
it.
I needed you to get your podcast out, and now I might have to push it down the road a little bit so you can get your book done. But that's okay.
Oh, I love
I have
it.
no
But
problem with that.
no, and I just, when like-minded people, I feel like when you start
Mhm.
collaborating with people, so much great can come from that.
Oh
And
yeah.
so many young people feel that they have to do it on their own, or are afraid to ask for help if they don't know an answer, or and it's interesting. And collaborations where where it really happens. That's
Oh,
when things get
absolutely.
done, me calling you, Patrick, help.
Let's go. And it always ends up being so much better than you ever envisioned it to.
Oh,
Because again, like, everybody brings so much to the table.
yeah.
And again, it's not, yeah, I may have maybe have initially came up with the idea, but
Mm.
because of that collaboration, it just turns into something that's beyond our initial expectations, which is
Well,
great.
it's usually perspective. It's just someone else's
Yeah.
perspective. It's not that they're smarter or better or whatever,
Yeah.
maybe some people have in their mind, but it's just a perspective that maybe you didn't consider through your own lens.
Yes.
So I
Yes.
always find that, I love that. I think that's so cool.
Yes. And I will not comment on such book publication ideas because I know you'll hold me to that date and I'm not ready for that yet. But it is there. It is there.
Yeah, good. And I love that you're helping veterans find a new project, a purpose. That's
Mhm.
the word, purpose. That's beautiful. That's
That's it.
great.
Yeah. Cool. Well, thank you. Well, it was fun. Thank you for joining today.
Oh
I
my
appreciate
goodness.
the conversation.
Anytime. It's such an honor and pleasure. And you've inspired me. I keep thinking about international exposure and reach as well.
Mhm.
And you just reminded me in this conversation again. And so you continue to fill me with such joy and inspiration, truly. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Likewise.
Mm,
It's mutual, definitely. And when you're ready to go global, let's plan. Because like I said, I'm sure we can come up with something pretty cool.
fabulous. And then we got to do pizza first. Okay.
We'll make it happen.
Thanks,
All right.
Patrick. Okay.